Why did Stetson Bennett come back for his sixth season of college football this spring? This is something that Kirby Smart talked about with the media earlier this week in spring football. He said we had a couple of conversations just in passing. He reached out a couple of times and said he wanted to come back. He wanted to continue to get better. There weren't a lot of questions or anything. He felt more like he had grown as a quarterback. We showed a lot of confidence in Stetson if you hadn't noticed. He answered that with the way he played. Dean Legge from Dog Post. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. Uh, and it talks a lot about Stetson in that book. And leading up to the decision to come back, um, it I don't think it was a certainty that Stetson was going to come back to Georgia for his final season of college football. When you talk to people close to him, um, they acknowledged that he had not made the decision until essentially the news was released. But there were other folks, former players that sort of said, yeah, maybe you shouldn't come back. I mean, look at your legacy, look at everything that you've done. You won the national championship for Georgia for the first time in 4 decades. It wasn't a slam dunk that Stetson would come back. But as we've seen, everyone else has moved. JT Daniels is taking a tour of a lot of different schools, Mizzou, Oregon State. So JT Daniels felt like his time at Georgia was over, but it wasn't certain. It wasn't certain that Stetson would come back. But now that you do have him back, you're returning. You're returning one of the top playmaking quarterbacks in college football. People want to hate on Stetson. I get that. I guess I don't get that. It's kind of stupid after a while. I get that people are upset with their lives and they like to take it out on Stetson. This is what we do with athletes. But he has gotten better for sure. And I talked about that a lot during the end of the 21 season. You can't compare the Stetson of 2020 to the Stetson of 2021. And it shows a couple of different things. First of all, that Stetson wasn't happy with the way that he ended the 20 season and he chose to continue to stay at Georgia and work on himself rather than transfer. Obviously, he could have transferred and played anywhere. He just won the national championship at Georgia. That's what he proved that he could do. Secondly, Georgia didn't give up on Stetson. I mean, there was a time when he was told he was never going to play. By Todd Monken. So um, it's a stunning reversal of what you would have expected. But he played better. That's all there is to it. He played better in 21, and the mistakes that he made in 20 really slowed down in 21. He started making plays. Now, in the national championship game, the fumble or whatever you want to call it, that was a bad play. He waited too long to get rid of the ball, etc. In the SEC championship game, he that was probably the spotlight of where he didn't play well the most. But I think the worst game that Stetson played was the Florida game. It seemed like to me. But think about how he played against Tennessee, against Auburn, um, you know, certainly against Michigan and against Alabama in the national championship game. He he was the reason they won. He was the reason they beat Michigan. He was the reason they beat Alabama. And no, it's not exclusively him. I could also say that about Trayvon Walker or Jordan Davis or whoever, but they weren't the quarterback. And I can assure you that if Georgia didn't win those games, it would have been Stetson's fault. That's just where we are in the world of college football. That he is coming back gives Georgia stability at a position with three playmaking quarterbacks behind Stetson that are going to have to fight their way to the backup job and to the starting position. It's not going to be an easy thing for Carson, Brock, or Gunnar Stockton to get snaps this fall. It's not going to be easy at all because Stetson doesn't really allow that. I mean, he plays steady for the most part. Um, but whenever your quarterback is being asked to do too much, you're not going to win. And I've only now, it's March, late March, I've only now been able to start going through the entirety of the Alabama images from the national championship game. And the number one thing that I notice is that Bryce Young is running for his life that entire game. He won the Heisman. He did not play well against Georgia in the national championship game. Go, watch the game. He couldn't play well. He wasn't allowed to play well. And you knew when you're under control, and can do, what you want to do, anybody can be good. Um, it's it's when you're under duress, it's when you're really challenged. That's when we see if you're a champion or not. And that's when Stetson rose to the occasion and got the job done for Georgia. Bryce Young, you could certainly say the same thing about Bryce Young in the SEC championship game. Take a listen to the difference in statistics. There's a difference. I mean, the noticeable thing are the mistakes. 26 of 44 for 421 yards, 59% completion rate, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's Bryce Young in the SEC championship game. Well, he had to throw for 57 times against Georgia in the national championship game versus the SEC championship. I may have said national championship a second ago. 35 for 57 for 61%. So he actually completed more passes. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. He was not sacked at all in the first game. So, yeah, if Stetson's being asked to throw 40 times in a game, he's not going to play well. You could say that about Bryce Young, too. I mean, go back and look at the Auburn game. Yeah, he won the game for him. 51 attempts. He was 25 of 51. That's not what you want. You don't want that. And you want a quarterback situation where you're under control. 37 attempts against LSU. They almost lost that game. I mean, yeah, Bryce Young is more capable of getting in there and chunking it for 30 plus yards. That's not what Stetson is. You're going to want to ask. You wouldn't ask Bryce Young to be Tim Tebow. You need guys to play their position uh, the way it's designed for them to play. And Stetson fits Georgia really well when you're not asking him to do too much. And then too, in 6 of the 8 quarters of when the ball game mattered the most, he actually did perform at a really high level, which was the Michigan game and the Alabama game. I mean, Stetson was exceptional against Michigan. He just killed them. But that was what was discussed by Kirby and Stetson coming back. Why did he come back? I mean, my suspicion is it's good to be Stetson Bennett right now at Georgia. And it's a lot better than attempting to be a free agent free agent NFL quarterback or a seventh round draft pick if you get that. I mean, he's trying to cement his legacy, which is already cemented at Georgia, and people are always going to be critical of the quarterback, and it's no different with Stetson. It's just what it is. I've lived long enough at Georgia to know David got this, DJ got it, Matthew, definitely Aaron Murray got it. It's just what it is, and it's part of being the quarterback of Georgia. Hey, check out DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. We'll see you over on the website. Thanks for watching.